Everyone, I'm Dino Bidala. Welcome to tonight's Dino Bidala Show on Sirius XM Channel 127. It's Wednesday, June 23rd. As always, I'm here to be your MBFF. And on my show tonight, we got a lot to talk about. To look at history a little bit here to make sense of what's going on. The GOP is not just trying to enact Jim Crow era laws. It's beyond that. They are literally trying to impose a political apartheid on our country. What I mean by that is they're the minority and they want to control the majority through undemocratic means. And also, when you look at the history of South Africa's apartheid, and we'll go through it on my show today, with today's GOP, there's also a racial element involved. Clearly, today's GOP is a white nationalist movement. There's no denying it. That's what it's about. And they are copying some of the exact same playbook that happened during apartheid South Africa. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying they research it. I'm just saying instinctively, if you're a white nationalist authoritarian party, you're going to do what they did in South Africa. As the white minority there saw they could be outvoted if all people of color were allowed to vote. So they did all they could to prevent that from happening, that they controlled the education in South Africa to make sure that the whites were taught a white mythology, just like the blacks were, that sort of further this idea that whites should be superior and blacks should be inherently subservient to whites. And that was literally from the education system in South Africa. That's what this idea of banning critical race theory, that's not even what they're talking about. It's not in any of the laws. They're banning systemic racism. And what they're doing is teaching white mythology, that white Europeans made this country great on their own, and that the rest of us who are not white Europeans need to bow down to them. We're somehow subservient. And also the idea of drawing the straight line from slavery to Jim Crow to today's systemic racism we're seeing from our criminal justice system to the racial wealth gap, which is all measurable and it is quantifiable, and there is a straight line. That's all uncomfortable for them, just like it was in South Africa during apartheid. The white minority there did not want people to know the full history of the country, and they wanted to teach a mythology to help them keep control. That's exactly what's going on right now. Even in South Africa during apartheid, what they did is create these little Bantustans, these little countries within the country. And they put the black population, which is the majority in those, and tell them, you can vote in your own country, even though they're under control of South Africa, but they couldn't vote in federal elections to keep control. Today, we would call that gerrymandering. It's the same idea. And we're seeing the attack on voting rights in America now, where literally, this is not an exaggeration, Black Americans had more protection of voting rights in August 1965 when the Voting Rights Act was signed into law than they do today. And that's not hyperbolic. That's the truth, because in 2013, the GOP Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in the Shelby County versus Holder decision. So no exaggeration. Black people and people of color in America today have less rights, less voting access rights today than they had in 1965. That's by design. If the Afrikaners in South Africa were still in control, they'd be applauding this and going, wow, you're geniuses. We didn't think of doing that, rolling the clock back, because there was pressure to move forward in South Africa. Ultimately, apartheid ended in South Africa in the mid-1990s. But there's lessons in activism, I think, from there as well that we could learn today, as we are going to deal with, it's not Jim Crow era laws. It is an American apartheid. That's what the GOP is pushing for. It is minority control of the majority by undemocratic means. This is going to be a political apartheid. Same South Africa, it's to ensure white power, white supremacy in this country. We're heading down this road. This whole critical race theory is a way the GOP is trying to animate people who are not overtly racist to go, oh my God, I don't want my children to hate themselves. That's not what critical race theory is about. They're not even teaching critical race theory. Just like South Africa apartheid. It's the teaching education that helps the white minority stay in power. That's what we're dealing with now. And we have to, there's no time for timidity. There was not during Trump, and there's not now. The GOP has always been horrific. I think under Trump, they got covered to make it seem like, oh, it's Trump. It's not them. It's them. Today's GOP is not a political party. It's a white nationalist authoritarian movement. It's dangerous. It is just like European white nationalist movements, like in Germany. It's called AfD Party, or in Hungary with Viktor Orban's group, or in Greece, or in Turkey, when you have the far right-wing parties over there. So we'll talk about that more in my show. It's live, 6 to 9 p.m. on Sirius XM. I hope if you subscribe to Sirius XM, come on over. If you don't, go to the website. There are free trials. Try it out. Listen to the show, channel 127. Better yet, call in. Be a part of us. We got so much work to do, my friends. We got a big family here. We need to grow and get ready for 2022. Remember, if you want progress, stay active. Thanks for tuning into the preview of tonight's Dino Budala Show.